Today we are talking about the third of our 3 languages that we need to learn in order to make a modern, great website. And that third language is JavaScript. So JavaScript's purpose is to add interactivity to your website. That means that you can do stuff and things will change on your website. So let me give you some examples. Let's go back to our forest and bird website here, and the first thing you might notice on this website is that down here we have what we call a carousel. It's a moving set of images where I can click on these buttons to go left and right and things change. We've got some information on there. This is a JavaScript element. It means I can change things on the page without having to load a new page. Another example might be this little menu at the top here, so I can click on it and I can go through the different menus and I can click it again and it will go away as well. If we go to YouTube, this little hamburger menu, as it's called up here, it's called a hamburger menu by the way, because the 3 lines kind of look like a little burger. I can click on that and it pops out. I can click it again and it goes away. That's an example of JavaScript. Other things like timers, drop-down menus, many other things can be done with JavaScript. JavaScript is a full programming language. So if we come back to our website here, what's something that we can add? Well, let's have a little play in our old friend Visual Studio Code. We're going to add a new text file here and we're going to save it straight away as well. I'm going to save this one as script.js. The same place as my other files, my HTML and my CSS files. Now you can see that this has changed to a little JS for JavaScript. And the first thing that we need to do, much like with our CSS, is tell our index page and our voting page that actually we want it to look at this JavaScript file. So normally where we do that is we actually do it in the bottom of the body tag. There are other ways to do it. There are a bunch of reasons for this. I'm not going to get into those reasons right now, but we're going to go script and then the attribute source. And we're going to reference script.js, and then we've got a closing tag as well. So all that's doing is saying, hey, can you make sure please after you've loaded all the website that you look for this JavaScript file. And obviously we can copy that and save it up, and we can go and we can put that same thing in here as well. So now both of our web pages are looking at this script file, and I can test that that's working by doing my first little bit of JavaScript here. I'm going to do a little alert. So an alert is like a pop-up at the top of the page, and I'm going to in here do some quotation marks. You can do single or double and go, hello world, what whale tails do you have for me? Something like that. I'm going to save it. Go back now to my website and refresh, and you can see that I get the little pop-up here whenever I refresh my website. Hello world, what whale tails do you have for me? So that's what an alert is. It just pops up at the beginning of the page. I don't really want to keep that in my website. It's just a little check for me to make sure that everything is working. And in fact, if I really wanted to, I could also check it on my other page to make sure that's linked up, and it does seem to be. Now I can save this to really get rid of it. So for the first piece of interactivity on my website, I'm going to set up this. You can see I've got a section here that says whale puns, and then the text says click me for a pun. So if I click on this text, it will change like that to a pun. So I want to set that up on my website. And the first thing I need to do is write the JavaScript code for this. So if I go to VS Code, you can see that I've written this code in here now. It says function. So I'm setting up something called a function. That's something that's going to run, some code that's going to run when I call on it. The function is called pun time with these brackets here, and you have to have these brackets. Don't stress too much right now about what they do. You will learn that if you've done any programming or if you're about to do any. Then I've got the curly braces, and inside here is my code. So this code here is going to look at my HTML document, and it's going to try to get an element. It's going to get an element by what's called an ID, and I'll explain ID soon. Then it's going to get the element with the ID pun text, and it's going to change the HTML on the element with that ID to this here. So it's going to take the element with the ID pun text and it's going to change the text to this. That's what my function is doing. But how do I set that up in my code? Well, I've got here the text and I need to give it an ID so that the JavaScript knows what it's changing. It's going to have the ID pun text. I just chose that. I just made it up, the same as the name. I made that up because I thought it was relevant. I'm going to give it in here an attribute of ID. So the ID is pun text. Now this JavaScript knows that it's looking for this element. Nothing is going to happen yet. So if I go back to my website, I refresh this, I click, nothing's happening. That's because I've told my website that this is ID, but I've not told it what to do when it finds it. So I need to tell it, well, on click, when you click on this, I want you to run the function pun text, or pun times, all right? I want you to run this function, pun times. I'm just going to copy that and put that in there. So now we've got this paragraph element that has the ID of pun text, and then when it's clicked, it's going to run the function pun time. The function will get the element named pun text, and it will change its HTML to this. That's everything that you need to get this to work. If I refresh this now, it works fine. If that's a little bit confusing to you, it's probably because you've not done any programming yet, and that's okay. JavaScript is an advanced skill. You don't need it usually for most of your assessments, certainly not to pass, but if you practice and you have a look around and you get your teacher to explain what's going on here to you, you'll probably be okay. Now the HTML element that you change doesn't have to be text. If I go to my home page here and I scroll down, maybe I want to change up one of my images. So I've got these images on here and there's this one of an orca, and maybe I want to change this to be more of a stylized illustrative thing rather than a realistic one. And what I've done, so I go to my whale site, I go to my images folder, I've got this image in here now, orca illustrated. So this is more of a stylized kind of orca situation, and what I want to happen is I want to be able to click on this and change it to that. So I'm going to go to my code, I'm going to find my orca section, helpful that I've got this comment here, and I find my image. I'm going to give this an ID as well so that the JavaScript knows which element it's looking at, and I'm just going to call this orca img, and I also want a function to run when this is clicked. So on click, I'm going to run a function. I'm just making this name up right now, and I'm going to call it orca image change. There we go. So that's what that's going to be called, and it's going to have those brackets at the end as well. So I've got an ID and I've got a name for my function. Now I need to go actually create this function. So function orca image change. Let me just check that that is exactly what I called it, because if it's different, we're going to have a problem. Yep, those are exactly the same. Good. And then I'm going to open a curly brace. I'm going to go document.get element by ID. And the element that I want in this case is I want orca image. And again, you can see I'm copying that directly from there. The reason that I'm doing that is trying to reduce any problems I have where I put the wrong character or letter or something. I need to think here about what it is I want to change. It's not the inner HTML I want to change. If I go back here, something in here is what I want to change, and it's the source. I want to change it from the orca to my new image of orca illustrated. So I'm going to go back, I'm going to go, I want to change the src. I want now that to be images. And you can see that it's not doing it for me here, so I have to be really careful. I go here, this image is orca illustrated.png, and I need to have the .png on the end. If you don't have it in here, you can turn that on by going to view and then turning on under show file name extensions, or you can just add it on the end yourself. So if you had this like this, you could just go .png, and then on the very end of my line I'm going to add that semicolon. So now what I've got is I'm saying, okay, when this function runs orca image change, get the element orca underscore image, that's the ID that we put on it over here, and then I want you to change the source of that image to this instead. Let's save that and just see if it works on our website. We're going to need to refresh. So now when I click on this, there we go, it changes to that image there. So that's two things that we can do now with JavaScript. We can change text and we can change images. Now, you might be sitting there thinking to yourself at this point, Mr. Black has not put any comments in here yet. Is he doing okay because he's obsessed with comments? Well, first, we don't need them quite as badly here, because if we've named our functions well enough, we should be able to understand what they do. But functions can still be useful. So for example, I might want to sort these into my pages. To write a comment, I go / and then I write the comment. So this one here is on my voting page. So I might write voting page functions, and then I can find those there easier. I might go home page functions. So comments are still useful here, 2 slashes to get those. Something a little more difficult for you if you're an extra for experts kind of person. I've had this drop down menu here the whole time, but it's not actually done anything. What I want to happen is I want to be able to select my whale and then click on select whale and have something pop up that just says, hey, thanks for your vote. That information won't actually go anywhere. That would require quite difficult JavaScript, and if you're at that level, you can figure that out for yourself. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to have something in here that says, hey, thanks for your vote. So what I've got is I've added on top of my select, this is my little drop down list, I've put in some spacing and then a button. That button has a class for some styling, and it's also got an on click event. So on click, it's going to run something called submit vote. And then I've got an empty paragraph. So you actually can't see it here at the moment, and that's because it's empty. There's a paragraph element here in my code, but you can't see it because I've not put anything in there. But it's got an ID of vote message. Then what I'm going to add in my JavaScript file right here is in my voting page function section, so thank you comments, is this code. So submit vote function. Now I'm not going to go through this in detail, it's for you, you're the extra for experts person, but I put some comments in. This part here is going to select the whale from the drop down, so it's going to get the value of what I've selected, and then it's going to display a message in that p tag that I've set up there. So you can have a look at that. I'll save it up and I'll show you how it works, but you're going to figure it out for yourself. So if I refresh here and then I pick a whale, so let's say the blue whale is my favorite, and go select whale, it says thanks for your vote of blue. If I change this again and then I go humpback whale, thanks for your vote of humpback. So that information is coming from here where I've put the value of each of mine. If I wanted that to say humpback whale instead, I could change that to whale. I could change that one there to whale as well. So it's getting those values and it's using those. So I can refresh this, pick the humpback, which is actually my favorite in case anybody is wondering, and then I go select whale. There you go, it's going to come up there. So that's some code for you to look at. You can have a look at this that I've added in here, and you can have a look at this in here. That's everything you need to know about JavaScript for now. You can go online and figure out anything else that's fancy for yourself. Because this is an extra for experts section, I'm not going to go over anything more than that. Right. That's all 3 languages done. By now you can make your very own website or app. I wish you luck. See you whenever the next one is.